Starting a career in tech sales can be a rewarding and a challenging experience. Here are some steps you can take to get started. Begin by researching the industry and the different types of tech sales roles available. For example, do you want to sell software? Do you want to sell hardware? In 2018, I started my tech sales career in software sales as a sales development representative. That's the entry-level role in tech sales. SDR, or a business development representative, BDR. I was making $50,000 immediately, and your pay is a base pay, which is your salary, and a variable pay, which is your commission. So if you don't like having pressure of a quota and being paid for performance, tech sales probably isn't for you. But I really like it because I control how much money I make and I control when I get promoted. And that's what I really think is important, because you don't have to play the politic game to be super successful. Next, understand and build your knowledge as to what are the products and services you would actually be selling and what would you do day to day. I've interviewed dozens of candidates for my company. I know a lot of recruiters, and I've helped hundreds of folks with no degrees, no experience get hired in tech. And one of the main reasons why they don't advance in the interview or the application process is because they don't actually know what is a sales development rep. They need to be able to explain, well, hey, I'd be cold calling, I'd be cold emailing, I would build my ideal customer profile, I would find my buyer personas in those accounts, I would use my sales data platforms like LinkedIn Sales Navigator, like Zoom Info, to go identify these folks, find their direct numbers. I would call them, I would build sales sequences, cadences using tools like Outreach, SalesLoft. I would then send them calendar invites. I'd bring in my account executive to then qualify and do a discovery. And hopefully we'd advance into a qualified opportunity to generate pipeline. If you can say that in the interview process, they're going to say, oh my gosh, sign here. We're going to hire you today. The applicants don't understand, why would the companies actually hire them in the first place? These companies are going to pay you and they're going to train you. So you make money and you build a valuable skill set that will always be in demand. The reason why these tech companies hire sales development reps and business development reps is because the more pipeline, the more meetings these companies have top of the funnel, the more revenue they're going to be able to make, so money they're going to be able to make to grow. So in order to understand this specific knowledge, you may need to do more research or even invest in a training. So I've built a training below for you to check out to understand why sales development may or may not be the right position for you, what would you actually be doing, and how to get started. So click the first link in the description below to learn more. The next step is to begin building your sales skills, reaching out to recruiters or even directors of sales development to actually get a look to get hired. The skill set to gain their attention is the exact same skill set that you will use in the job. You're going to face a lot of rejection. It's going to be hard. You need to be able to use proper grammar. You need to be able to type written words, send notes. You need to be able to cold call, find their information. All of the sales skills required to get hired in tech is the exact same skill set you will use to be successful in tech. So really important to understand what are those skills and how can you build on them to get hired faster and then to also be more successful in the role. Next, you want to build a network of folks that can help you. And this is something that so many folks skip over or try to rush. I would recommend LinkedIn. You want to make sure to have a really well-developed LinkedIn profile, a professional-looking headshot. You want to have the about experience, so what you have done in the past, and you want to frame your profile in a way that folks look at it, it passes the eye test, and they say, yeah, this person's worth giving an interview. Your LinkedIn profile is more important than the resume. Think about that and then figure out how can you improve your LinkedIn profile so that when you feel confident in the LinkedIn profile, start building up a network of different connections. So go connect with folks who are currently in the role that you want to work in, other sales development reps, other business development reps. Go connect with leaders that may be able to help influence your career trajectory. So folks that are directors of sales development, folks that are manager of sales development, folks that are directors of talent acquisition, recruiting, folks that by you connecting with them, eventually maybe they could say, you know what, we're in need of somebody to do the role that you want to be in. So let's give you an interview and I want to hire you. So go connect with these folks. You want at least 500 connections, and then also go connect with folks on LinkedIn who are actively posting thought leaders, influencers, so that you can understand who are the players in the space, what are they talking about, learn from them, go comment on them. You don't need to build a post on LinkedIn to build a following. Just comment on the folks that you look up to so that you can learn from them, and then they'll start to recognize your name, and then eventually they may be able to help you. Don't just go connect with people, ask them for 15 minutes, go connect with them and then add them value, because their time is more valuable than yours. So ask yourself, how can you add them value, and then make the ask. Go connect with me on LinkedIn if you haven't already, and go find other folks. You can connect with at least 100 people a week. So make sure to make the most of that and build out your network. The biggest mistake folks make that are trying to get hired into tech sales is they go on LinkedIn, they looked at the jobs, and they just do the quick apply. They apply to 100 companies a day, and they think the volume is actually gonna help them, but it hurts them because it's so surface level. Rather than doing 100 surface level applications, do 10 deep dive applications. So go identify, what are the companies you actually want to work for? What companies align with your values based on the mission they set forth? What company is working on solving problems that you actually find interesting? What buyer personas do they sell into? Do you want to sell into sales leaders? Do you want to sell into HR professionals? Do you want to work for a company in financial services? Do you only want to sell to high-tech companies? So go identify, what type of company do you want to work for? Because this will determine your future, and this will determine your story, your resume. So a general rule of thumb, the bigger the company, the more money they make, the more employees they have, the more developed their training program is going to be, and the higher the entry-level pay. Whereas the smaller the company, more of a startup, they're going to have less resources, so it's going to be harder, but you may get more equity. So you may be able to capitalize if the company goes public or gets acquired, but there's going to be less training, and the market will not know you as well. So it's going to be harder to sell. You'll get paid less money. So really understand, what types of companies do you want to work for? I would recommend Googling, well, what are the top software companies by market share? So you can Google literally market cap by software company and go get a list of the top 100 biggest companies. You can go to the Forbes or the Cloud 100 list of the fastest growing private cloud companies. And you can also start by building your connections on LinkedIn and see, where do folks work at, and then ping them and say, well, what is your experience at that company? How do you like working for them? And then start to get a list of companies that really meet your criteria, because this isn't just something you want to guess, you want to get this right. And then the final step is to persist through the setbacks. You're going to face a lot of rejection. I felt like I was a good candidate, and it still took me 2 to 3 full months. It felt like my full-time job to get hired. Understand that every position that you want, somebody else also wants as well. Life is competition. So look yourself deep in the eye, in your mirror, into your soul. Ask yourself, would you hire yourself? Would you want to be led by yourself? And if you wouldn't, you need to figure out, how can you grow as a person, as a professional? So you want to make sure physically to have a good physique, in health, so you have a lot of energy. I'm hoping by this point in the video that you have the motivation and the knowledge and the understanding to take immediate action. But if you don't, keep in mind that all of these steps were written by artificial intelligence. If you're not in tech sales, you may be at risk of losing your job at some point due to AI and automation. So make sure to start taking action now, because tech sales is one of the few career paths that are future-proof, and your skill set of communication, being able to listen, build rapport, relationships, connections with people, that will always be in demand, and you'll always get paid a lot of money for that. So if you're ready to join a dynamic, fast-paced, future-proof environment in tech sales, click the first link in the description below. I put together a training so that you can understand why sales development might be the right career for you, what you actually would be doing so that you can answer that critical question in the interviews, and then finally, a much more detailed overview of how to actually get started in tech sales. I'll see you there.